Suddenly, she started describing some being that started appearing in front of her. It was a being of light. And she started smiling, and excitedly she said, "It's an angel. I'm seeing an angel." Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel, and welcome back if you're familiar with my videos, my previous videos. Here I'm sharing with you my personal stories, whether they are spiritual, metaphysical, mysterious or paranormal. But also I'm sharing with you some videos related to psychology and Islamic psychology, because I've been creating online courses in psychology for the last 10 years. So perhaps you're familiar with my courses through schools such as Udemy, Skillshare, Skill Success, and so on. So anyway, this video I've been thinking about for a while. I really wanted to make with you guys because I want to hear your opinion, what you think. Because I know that some of you, or many of you, have the same questions that I've had for so long. For as long as I remember, I was so interested, I was fascinated by the stories that are related to our past lives. Like many people, I believe that we have past lives, and we have many past lives. In fact, I considered myself as an old soul that went through various experiences, whether it's an old Atlantis or some other countries. In fact, I went to see a hypnotherapist. He was practicing QHHT method, which is quantum healing method by Dolores Cannon, which is basically all about past lives. Some people ask, why do you need to go to see past life? Even if you do see it, so what, apart from curiosity? Well, first of all, of course, I was curious about my own past lives. Secondly, the theory goes that we heal parts of ourselves through viewing our past lives. We understand more about our purpose here through the purpose in past lives, and see if there are some things we carry through. So there are certain relationships, for example, that were not completed successfully with your mom or your dad, for example. And then again, you decided as a soul group to reincarnate here. So after reading numerous books by Brian Weiss and Dolores Cannon, I've read, I think, all of her books, and other authors, anyone who would be writing about past lives. With all that information, I decided to look for my first hypnotherapist. He was trained by Dolores Cannon herself, and I went to see her in London quite a few years ago. And the experience was transformational at that time for me, because I saw myself living actually in Britain, which kind of explained to me why I ended up going back to UK in this lifetime. This is how I saw it. I saw myself living as a man. So when I looked at myself in that hypnotic state, and the hypnotherapist was asking me to describe what I see and what I wear and where I go and about my life, so I was telling her everything that I saw and what I knew about myself in that hypnotic state. And what I knew is that I'm a male, and I love my work, I love my business. And that at some point I met a woman and we got married. And in fact, I saw my wedding. I saw how we carrying rings and holding champagne. And then when the hypnotherapist asked me to take her to the next important scene, in my hypnotic mind, or hypnotized state rather, I saw how me and that woman who was my wife in that scenario, we had an argument, and actually we were signing papers, which meant divorce. In the end, I actually witnessed my own death as an old male in that past life. And I saw myself sitting on a very comfortable old chair. I was living in the countryside, I was living in a little house. And at some point I felt how I started detaching from the body. And the sensation was like I was going up, which was quite forceful, but at the same time, it was bringing me lightness and some kind of peaceful feeling. So instead of being agitated or worrying about anything, I was actually getting more and more relaxed, taken by that wave of energy, whatever that was taking me up, up, up. And then I could see myself on the other side and meeting friends and family. as it is described in the afterlife books, right? So, of course, I was convinced that I was born in the UK in my past lifetime. And after that, I went again to the hypnotherapist over the range of many years. I visited many therapists, especially those who specializes in QHHT method by Dolores Cannon, because I considered it as the best method. So, and then I have seen many other lives. They were in different countries. In some of them, I was a woman. In some of them, I was a man. In some of them, I was poor, and in other ones, I wasn't so poor, and I was in a very nice, wealthy houses and things like that. So I would say I experienced a variety of different realities. And I mean realities in quotes, because what is real in the end of the day? The whole fascination with past lives led me to study the method itself, that QHHT method by Dolores Cannon. I've studied it and I started practicing it on other people. So again, I even regressed my own father, and he saw himself living in Italy in the past century, where he was working on a boat, delivering some goods and things like that. So it was quite graphic the way he described what he was wearing, like some kind of leather costume, some leather boots, which belonged to some century, as some kind of uniform or clothes that they were wearing on the boat, I guess, or on a ship rather than a boat. But he was describing really vividly the whole turquoise sea around them, and the temperature, the weather, and that he has a family that is waiting for him ashore, and that the children he has, he knew all that information in his mind, in his head. So after that, I regressed a few of my friends, and then people who I didn't know. And I remember a particular case when a girl came to see one of her past lives and to see why she's so into spirituality and feels so different in this lifetime. So what we saw, it was quite unreal. First of all, she saw herself as an old man who was walking barefoot from the village somewhere towards the mountain. And when I asked why you are without shoes, the girl said that in that lifetime as an old man, he was very poor and he didn't have shoes. And in fact, the village kicked him out. When I asked for what, she said that the village didn't accept that he had special abilities, the abilities to predict certain things that will happen in the village. After that, the old man went to a cave. So this girl, who was that old man in that hypnotic state, she was telling me how she got really comfortable in the cave, and she was just sitting there, meditating, reflecting, and so on. Suddenly, she started describing some being that started appearing in front of her. It was a being of light. And she started smiling, and excitedly she said, "It's an angel. I'm seeing an angel." To which I was overjoyed. I actually was so happy that we are witnessing something like angel appearing in front of us, well, in front of her. But I'm imagining all this because I'm listening to her, because she's laying literally by my side, and I'm a hypnotherapist in this situation. So I was getting really excited about this angel. And then at some point, suddenly she said, wait. It's not an angel. It's changing. And then she started getting really freaked out. She actually was getting really scared. And she said to me, wait. I am afraid what I'm seeing right now. Oh my God. I know who it is. I know what it is. It's dark. And his eyes are glowing red. And he's got horns. And I know exactly what she's talking about. I know who she's seeing. If you've heard my other stories, I'm very familiar with the dark side of the unseen reality. I'm talking about demonic forces and things like that. Here she could witness the leader of the whole demonic group, if you can say that. And when she saw him, she couldn't even communicate well because she was shaking with fear. Imagine that as a hypnotherapist sitting next to her, I see my client going through a very fearful state. So I knew that I have to take her out from that scene, or at least to detach her from feeling what she's feeling. So I made some suggestions so she could feel a little bit more detached from the whole scene. And then I say to her to concentrate on the feeling of that white divine light that we have inside of us, that divine spark of God that we all have. So I say to her to concentrate on that and bring that divine spark into light and let it grow. Let it grow so it was over and around you. This is our protection, that divine light. If we all have a spark of God within us, then this is the strongest protection that we can ever have. And this is what I've been shown in shamanic ceremonies at the time. If you want to feel protected, and that was before Islam, because in Islam we have prayers that protect us. But if you don't do any prayers, then remember that there is a light, divine light in us. And when you focus on it, it grows, and that is your protection. But you have to do it a few times a day to actually feel that protection. From today's point of view, I find it much easier to do my daily prayers as a practicing Muslim, and I know they protect me. So the story ended successfully. When I'm saying a girl, of course, she's not a young girl. She's a woman, but I tend to call women as girls. So that's a disclaimer. So she came back to herself, and I gave her some words of reassurance by the end of the hypnotic session. So she didn't bring any negative feelings with her, any negative emotions, so that she could feel more relaxed and happier when she will come back into the room, and that all will be like a dream state. When she came back, she remembered most of it. She remembered how powerful that entity was that appeared in front of her. At first as an angel, a white, glowy, massive size angel, which then was turning into someone really dark. Someone who is the leader of the whole demonic force. And he appeared in front of her. So sometime later, I would say several months later, whilst doing my shamanic ceremonies, eventually I started becoming more and more interested in prayers, in learning prayers in Islam as my protection from all these dark entities. And if you've heard my story, how I came to Islam, this is how basically it happened. So when I came back to Islam, then I started questioning the whole aspect of those past lives. Because in Islam, I found that there is no past lives. We don't believe, as a practicing Muslim, we don't believe that past lives are real. In fact, this could be an imagination that happens in your own mind, produced by your own mind. It could be archetypes like Carl Jung. He was describing that there are collective archetypes that play out and that manifest through those hypnotic states. In Islam, some people would say it's the jinns, which is this demonic force, really play with us when we are in this hypnotic state. Or this could be some visions from the unseen world, which is acknowledged by Islam, that the unseen world exists. It's pretty rich with various beings, which are typically called jinns, which can be categorized in different groups, and where they live and what they do and how they affect us. And that could be one way that they get into our life through those hypnotic sessions. And this is why they are not encouraged, and in fact they are prohibited to do when you are practicing religion, whether it's Christianity or Islam or Judaism. You're not supposed to be doing hypnotic sessions because you open the door to the unseen. And as you can see from my past example, what you could see there, perhaps we can invite some dark demonic forces which eventually affect our life and us in a very detrimental way. I also reflect on this, and now I think perhaps it is symbolic. Perhaps part of what we see in hypnotic sessions are created by our mind plus the unseen, and perhaps plus the collective archetypes and collective memories. And it's interesting how our subconscious in that case can recreate something like this. If it's with the help of the unseen, and I mean those dark forces as well, then it's pretty interesting in how vivid and how real it appears to us. So I would like to ask you the same thing. Have you had those experiences, past lives? Have you seen your past lives? Or maybe even you try to work as a past life regression therapist. What do you think about this? Where they're coming from? I'll be very interested to read comments below. So share with us what you think. We are all here seekers. We're all here trying to understand the truth. And we also study the subconscious and psychology and spirituality and the unseen. So thank you for listening, and I will see you in one of my next videos.